Welcome, the one, the only Cooper Mays is with us. It's the Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters 50 years in business right there in Knoxville. Cooper was just telling me before we started that this is his favorite time of the year. We're going to talk about the spring game. Go ahead and hit that like button, thumbs up. We appreciate it. But why is this your favorite time of the year, Cooper?
There's just no pressure really at all. Like everything for me, everything is like getting better, from a certain standpoint. So there's no pressure of anything, no practice. You truly can just like focus on your lifts, getting better, recovery, and getting your extra work in.
Well, it was also, since you said that, it kind of occurred to me, it's also an opportunity to work with younger guys, I would think, too, whether or not it's film room or what. And you've been very open about you want that to be a bigger role for you this fall.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when times like this, like it's hard to you know get extra work in when you're in like a grueling practice schedule. So really just like I said, like having an opportunity to truly just kind of like step back from football and like focus truly on your body and then trickle in your on field stuff for the football. I mean, that's your reps where you truly get better because there's nothing riding on it. Just focused on your activity.
Good stuff. All right. What did you think of the spring game?
I thought it was just very very limited from a offensive standpoint, but I thought it was a good time. It was a great showing by Vol Nation. They packed it out for about like 60,000 or something like that. So that was that was stupid impressive. So big kudos to them.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned, and I saw the Vol walk too. I mean, to get 60,000, there are schools in the SEC, I won't name them, but they don't get 60,000 for a game on Saturdays in the fall.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure it's not many schools that reach that number. So it is very special. It's great what's happened over here.
Now you got, without getting into specifics at all, a little bit banged up towards the end of practice, spring camp, but ended up where you're good to go. How important were those final few reps, you think, even though you were limited?
Yeah, I just I think availability is a really really big thing when it comes to football, and being able to play when game day comes. I think you need to be able to do that. So always want to be in there when it's game time.
As far as the simulation for the young guys, how much can the spring game help you guys simulating game day, or does it really?
Well, for a young guy, for sure. I mean, that's the closest you're going to get, to a game day setting without actually going through it yourself. But I mean, there's obviously nothing that can really, emulate a game. But if there was an experience that would be like a game, I guess it would be the spring game. But there's nothing that really compares to it.
So I think you're rocking the full beard for the first time since we've talked. Is that right?
Yeah, I need to trim it. I've
It's
got a
pretty
little
impressive. It's pretty good.
yeah, I've got a little meet and greet. So I don't want to trim it all the way down because then I look like a goofball, and then nobody likes that when it's picture day. So
Oh,
I
you
guess
got
I'd rather it be long than short. So
I can see that. And then at one point, as you saw mine a couple months ago, it'll be white. You'd be like, "What the H?"
yeah, with the H, there you go. So
It's the best they got.
what the H?
That's right. We don't want to go any further than that. This is kid free, but we don't want to go any further. It is family podcasting. Um, as far as what you got done as a whole in the spring, and as far as what the offensive line got done, um, what did you think you guys accomplished? Because it is an important time for you guys.
I think the biggest thing was we kind of just had an opportunity to gel a little bit. I think we got a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces, and with Darnell and Jerome being gone, that's a lot of experience and two familiar faces that have been kind of dependable for a starting spot for 2 years now. So a lot of new faces that are going to have to step up this year, and a lot of new guys that are just getting enrolled in college and transferring in. So just a chance for us to play all together, kind of gel a little bit was, I think, the biggest thing.
Who do you think the time that you missed? Who do you think benefited the most from getting some of those first team snaps?
Gotta be Addison. I mean, Addison was the guy that they slid in there at center. So just proving that proving that he can play center if I go down, and for him to get more game like reps. I mean, it's different when you're going with the ones and the threes or whatever. So just big to get thrown into the fire a little bit. I think that was the biggest thing that helped me when I was young is just kind of just not having a choice but to go out there and fight. So you kind of just figure out kind of what you're made of.
I wanted to ask you this question, kind of a big picture question in football, and not only college football, but even if you want to go back to your high school or middle school days, if you want to. But what does the term players coach mean to you?
To me, I mean, I think it's like old school lingo. I'm pretty much a new school guy. So I've never really I felt kind of shameful because I haven't really asked exactly what it means, but I've kind of put it together from context clues.
You
Like,
felt shameful. Don't be ashamed. We'll work through it, Coop.
I don't know. I mean, I think a player personally, from my understanding of, people saying it and me kind of just putting it together, is a coach that, kind of has a player first mentality when it comes to his decision making and the way he acts. I mean, I think he's always trying to make sure his players are good first. Am I right? I think that's right, right?
I think you're right. I think there's a connotation that comes with that sometimes they can be soft, but you can be players first and still be a tough disciplinarian though, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know that. I obviously barely even knew the word. So, but no, I don't think any. I've never really thought of any coach in the SEC as soft personally. So,
No, to
you know,
get to that level, it's tough to be
I think
soft.
it's pretty tough. You're pretty hard body, I guess.
Yeah, so if you were to describe if somebody came from Japan or just they didn't know anything about football and they said, "Tell us about this Josh Heupel guy." How would you describe him? What are the words that you would use? Because we oftentimes throw out disciplinarian, we throw out players coach, but what are some of the words that you would use?
Yeah, I would say consistent and discipline would be two of his biggest attributes. I'm not saying like disciplinarian. That probably wouldn't be my word, but discipline in the fact that he holds all of us to a standard. That's very straight and narrow kind of thing. Um, I think that's a big emphasis and a big, value of his is that everybody does the right thing all the time and, all throughout the day. So I would say consistent and disciplined.
So consistency, how tough is it for a head coach or a center or whoever it might be or a leader to be consistent the Monday after the Alabama game as opposed to the Monday after a loss? I mean, how difficult is that during the season?
Very difficult, really. I mean, I think just in all walks of life, personally. I mean, there's so much stuff that can go wrong in a day that sometimes just seems to like pile up in one day that like everybody has bad days. So just take football out of the equation. Being a consistent person is a very hard, task for anybody, but there's a lot of special people out there that can manage to, stay even keel the whole time and they're rewarded for it a lot of times.
Yeah, and then you said as far as it's difficult, I'm sure it is a challenge, but if you look at the way you guys bounced back from losses last year, you must have done a pretty good job at coming back on a Monday with a fresh head.
I think so. I mean, I think our team last year was really special and ability to kind of like snap and clear, like just kind of being a Tennessee fan, like I think I've touched on it before, but being a Tennessee fan, like it seems like stuff kind of just doesn't like go our way a lot of times, like in recent history. So like I think our team was one of the first teams that's really like you see like things go wrong and like we kind of like right the ship a little bit, if that makes sense. Like stuff can be bumpy and stuff can go wrong along the way, but being able to bounce back as a whole team kind of is a really special ability. I think our team kind of possessed that last year.
Yep, and you've been around before the transfer portal, before NIL, so you kind of know the difference. Getting back to Josh Heupel, I'm curious how much you, as a coach, um, you have to have your players believe in you because you could transfer tomorrow, Cooper, if you wanted to. You're not going to, but you could.
Right.
Um, there has to be somewhat of a relationship there, I would think.
I think it all goes back to like I've said this 1,000 times on the show, but like if you're the same person every day and you treat people in a consistent way, then I think people hold you in like really high regard. So, starting with Heupel, I think he treats people the right way every day, and he shows that he lives what he like preaches. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think a big thing that I learned, like I was involved leaders, and a big thing was like the shepherd's got to smell like the sheep if you want them to follow you. So I think he's somebody that will go to bat for you and kind of live what he preaches. So I think that's not really a stretch for anybody to believe in it, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And when you talk about some of the things that you've been a part of off the field, and we've talked about the fact that you're chasing gorillas down, and was it Rwanda, and you've done all these things. That that's something that Tennessee can offer that a lot of other schools can't. Do you think prospects realize that when they're 17 and 18 years old, what Tennessee can offer that maybe other schools can't?
Definitely not. I mean, you're a 17-year-old kid coming out of high school with every school in the country. If you're coming to Tennessee, usually about every other school in the country wants you as well. So I mean, if you just look at the scope of that, you think you're like the best thing since sliced bread. So basically, with you feeling like that, you don't really see the whole forest because you see in the trees right in front of you. So I mean, me, I personally didn't even get it. I didn't really understand it, the magnitude of it. But what Tennessee has given me and like some of the experiences and like that Rwanda trip, I mean, super, super blessed. Couldn't ask for more out of a college experience for sure.
What are some of the things we mentioned, the Rwanda trip? What are some of the things that you've done that we don't talk about, as media or fans, and you guys don't talk about publicly, that you're not asked about, that you truly appreciate, that wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for football?
Man, I there's a lot. I mean, just really the people. I think people don't really. I mean, it's like every other probably job out there, but even deeper in our sense because we do so much together. But like you probably find a lot of people through your job and like your coworkers and stuff that you end up like loving and caring about deeply. But you wouldn't have met them if it wasn't for you getting that job. Like for me, a lot of my best friends and everything, I would have never met them without football in Tennessee. So you come from all different walks of life and you're kind of just thrown into one little pot and you kind of just make do with what you have and you make a lot of great friends along the way. So I would say the people, it's really special. Just being able to suffer with people is really cool, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of hard days in our job and a lot of quit. But like if you look to your left and your right and you see people that you love, it won't let you quit.
Good stuff. Former Vol Trey Smith, who you're very tight with, was in town for the orange and white game. I want to ask you about him. And do you still have to call him Champ, or do you get to call him Trey? The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. 50 years in Knoxville. They have integrity. Integrity matters. City Heating and Air Conditioning. So right after Trey won the Super Bowl, you said you had to call him Big Champ or a Super Bowl guy or whatever it was. Do you get to call him Trey now?
No, yeah, that kind of dissipated. I don't know. I thought it was going to kind of be something that stuck for a little bit, but we kind of moved on, I guess. So I guess we're back to Trey status.
How cool was it for him not only to be around for the orange and white game, but to be a part of it? He did a voiceover for a video. I saw him on the Tennessee football Twitter feed getting his hair cut. To have him back around, how cool is that?
I love it. I really enjoy being around Trey. So he's one of my best friends. So it's always good for me personally, but I think it's good for the program to have him around. Just a guy that's, a torchbearer. There's not many of those in UT football history. So very special human and a really good guy that comes back and gives back too. So I think it's really good for everybody involved.
What did he tell you about playing in the Super Bowl? Anything he shared that you can share with me?
Nothing. I don't think he really told me anything specific, like story wise, but just kind of just how like it's like the peak of life. You know what I'm saying? It's like climbing Mount Everest. You're like on top of the world. So he said there's like not another feeling like that he's ever experienced. So I think that's I'm sure it was a special time, special feeling for him, but nothing like crazy that would be be significant, I guess.
You mentioned Trey was a torchbearer. For those that don't know, that's kind of the ultimate honor you can get as a Tennessee student, and he received that. What do you think that meant to him?
I think it was something that he strived for. I I've never really talked to him about really like what it means. We've talked about it a lot and how great it is, but really just like the highest honor and to do it while playing football. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong, but I think it's just like him, Josh Dobbs, and Peyton Manning, maybe. I don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. There might be more, but like I think there might be only three. I didn't want to put the number out there and be wrong, but to be one of three, and I mean the thousands and thousands of football players that have come through, I mean that's pretty crazy, pretty special honor, man. It really, really a crazy special honor.
No, it really is, and it actually it goes to just a student. So I want to be real clear. It's not just an athlete award. It's a student award, and all that he came through with the blood clots. I think that was certainly a part of it. I'm just imagining Cooper Mays bearing that torch here in about a year, standing out there, Circle Park, holding up the torch. That's what I'm envisioning. Do we have another torchbearer on our hands?
I'm really trying to. You know.
Are you?
Yeah, I want to. I really do want to be.
What do you have to do? What's the process?
I mean, obviously you got to apply and everything. I'm pretty sure, but I mean, I think it's just being a exemplary student at the university. So I'm trying to just do everything in my power. I don't know. I think it would be a really special honor. I'm really striving for it. So that's why I want to.
Can I write a rec letter or something? Is there anything I can do? Can I make a phone call?
I don't know. We'll find out soon.
I mean, that would be phenomenal. That would be, and that you're actually striving for that is cool because it tells me you set your goals pretty high.
Got to, sky's the limit or whatever those people say.
Or whatever.
It's like
You're such a better student than I was when I was your age. What's the most daunting goal you think you've set for yourself, either in life, in school, or in football?
Man,
It may be the torchbearer. It may be that simple.
That probably would be. I don't know. I don't look at. I mean, if you look at your goals as daunting, it's probably not. You got to set your goals. I mean, obviously they say like don't be realistic with your goals or whatever. But like, let's be real. If you can see something that's realistic and achievable, it's going to make you work harder to find it based off saying something like, I want to be this, like, and make it something unrealistic. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me personally.
At the time we're recording this, it's April the 20th, which is 420, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's also National High Five Day, Cooper, which I think is the most overrated gesture in the history of man. When's the last time you've given a high five instead of knucks or something?
I don't know. I'm a big low five guy. You know what I'm saying? Like when you run by and you just stick your hand out low. That's probably mine. I mean, it's just so much more like.
Listen,
it's very like 70s-esque.
Maybe 60s-esque. Can you imagine if I walked up to you and said, "Hey, high five, Cooper"? What would your immediate reaction be?
I just wouldn't. I would just tell you not to say it. Just next time, just like put it up and like it'll be an understood thing. Like when you walk up, you don't be like, let's dap hug, combo. Like nobody says that. You just kind of.
10 years from now, somebody will mention 420 Day to you, and you'll say, "Oh, National High Five Day."
Yes, indeed.
Indubitably.
Right. Indubitably.
We want to remind you that his appearance on the program is brought to you by City Heat and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a production of Off Thug Sports.